I literally did everything I could possibly do to sabotage to get myself back to the reality that I believe I should be in, because that was my imprint for life. And when she didn't leave me, I was like, I need to fix this.
All right. What's up, guys? How's everybody feeling? I'm Brian.
I'm Kirsten.
We're gonna do something a little bit different, all right? Because you guys have been all patient, everybody's been sitting down, listening to all the speakers. And initially I thought I wasn't gonna run this like I run Limitless, but I am. So everybody stand up. We're gonna shake it off, you know? You guys have been sitting all day.
Shake it off.
Everybody shake it off, you know? Do a little dance. Do a little dance, and then you guys are gonna repeat after me. Ready? Yes!
Yeah, there we go.
That was good, babe.
Gotta get some energy. You guys can sit down now. I want to start off with gratitude, because a lot of the things that were spoken about today are, you know, on mine and my wife's hearts as well. And I want to talk about just the chance to be here in this room right now with these people. So the odds of being a human being alive on this planet right now are 1 in a trillion. Not to mention the odds of being a human being alive on this planet right now in this time, to be born in 2025 when, you know, there's not wars happening in our country, where we're able to walk around peacefully, where we're able to just live our life and we don't have to live in fear like if you were born 1,000 years ago. Like, the odds of being alive as a human being on this planet right now in this time is fucking incredible. And the odds of being a human being alive on this planet right now and meeting your significant other in the history of all time, of all of the people that have existed in the millions of years on this planet, of the 7.7 billion people on the planet right now, you came together with your partner. That's fucking cool. So that's gratitude. I also believe that the universe gives us signs. It's like the universe, our creator, consciousness, source consciousness, whatever. And I believe that all of you guys are in this room right now for a reason, including myself and including my beautiful wife. So we are going to share a little bit about our story. I think we have a pretty cool relationship.
We have a really great relationship now. Now. Emphasis on now. I love that I get to do this part because our perspective on this is completely different, so I get to tell mine. So we met at a rave. It was center of gravity. He says that I was in love with him. I think he was in love with me. Potato, potato.
You were definitely in love with me.
Okay, is it potato, potato? So he wore his hat like this, and I honestly thought it was really attractive at the time, right? So he's like, hey, my name's Brian Mark. I'm sponsoring the bikini competition. And I was like, hi, I'm Kirsten. I'm in the bikini competition. And that was really all we said to each other. He followed me on Instagram. I found out he was more than just a pretty face. And there was a moment where I have a daughter. She's 16. I had her when I was 16 years old. And I was starting this online coaching business, and it'll all make sense. I fell and I hurt my tooth. I was like bleeding. And I messaged him and he's like, well, you should just come to Bali.
If you guys ever hurt your teeth, fly to Bali, okay? Dental work in Canada, it's like $5,000 to fix your teeth. In Bali, they'll do it for like $300. So I'm like, why would you fix your teeth in Canada when you could just fly to Bali for $1,500 and then you can get your tooth fixed with $300? It's gonna be cheaper. You should just come with me.
So my tooth was fine in the end. And honestly, I would find any excuse just to talk to Brian. I just liked being in his energy. I was in a really, really bad relationship at the time, and I didn't have enough self-confidence to leave that relationship. I put my daughter, and anytime I talk about my daughter, I will get emotional, but I put her in some situations that were really, that I'm not proud of. And I knew that I needed to burn the boats, because in Kelowna, I was stuck and I was trapped, and I was working 14-hour days at the restaurant, and I was going to train clients after that. I was burnt out. I was in a bad relationship and I wasn't moving forward. So I left everything. I called my mom at 2 a.m. and I'm like, Mom, you're going to think I'm crazy, but I'm going to Bali. Will you watch Haley? And she's like, who are you going to Bali with? And I'm like, my coach. And she's like, you can't go to Bali with 2 strange men. Like, you're gonna get hurt. And I'm like, will you watch Haley? And she's like, yes. So I packed my stuff. I left and I went to go build a business that was gonna give me freedom. And I honestly just needed to escape. In Bali, Brian and I, we became best friends. I was watching him. Yes. No, we were. I friend zoned him at that point. I was like in love with him, and then I saw him with many women, and I was like, okay, this is not gonna happen. And so in Bali, we were inseparable. We just like held each other accountable. He stopped me from messaging my ex. I stopped.
We had this thing, so I used to chew tobacco, and she used to message her ex, and those were our opposite habits. So we had this thing where I'm like, every time I chew tobacco, I have to send you $5 over e-transfer.
It's e-transfer.
And every time you text your ex, you have to send me $5.
Because we were just sending each other $5.
So randomly, I send each other $5, which is like, dude, what are you doing?
And from there, it was really history. Should we get into it?
Yeah, so I think that for me, we were both broken when we met each other. And so this was taken on our trip to Bali. And the entire reason I started my business, which was coaching personal trainers how to start online businesses, was because I had just got out of a massive breakup. And I didn't really handle the trauma from that breakup properly. Like, I didn't really deal with my own. And so after that breakup, I literally just kind of I just kind of sabotaged myself. Like, started going out, started drinking, started partying, doing all this shit. And then I also, like, my girlfriend at the time was a fitness coach in my fitness business. So once we broke up, like, there was so many layers attached to our relationship. I just hated working on my business because every time I worked on my fitness business, I was reminded of my ex. So I needed to do something different, which is when I started business coaching personal trainers, and Kirsten was one of my first clients. So like, coming out of that experience, like, I was just a very broken individual. You know, I was getting validation from going out drinking and picking up girls. I was, drinking to make myself feel better. I thought I was cool driving out on my scooter, looking on Jack. Like, that's how I dealt with my trauma, is I just buried it, pretended it didn't exist, and got my validation from, lack of a better term, picking up women. When we came together, we were both halves. She tried to cuddle me and I shut her down.
Man, it was so embarrassing. It was like the worst moment of my life. Like, I don't get rejected often. And I was like, can we cuddle? And he's like, no. And
I didn't want to ruin our friendship. I didn't want to ruin our friendship.
We cuddled the night before. It was because you like Gabby or whatever. How do you like her?
That's what I thought.
That's the truth.
Yeah, dude. Okay. Yeah, I don't like that. Who the yeah.
But we were best friends to the point where, like, every time I would go out and do some stupid, I'd call her first thing.
8 times if I didn't answer.
Yeah.
I feel like I did something not meant to be living this life.
And for her, it's like she was just getting over her ex. And so every time something traumatic would happen with her ex, she would call me. And so we just developed this like best friendship. And we were both halves when we came together. But then at some point we realized, I realized I love you, and I love you more than just like, you're my best friend. I love you.
Yeah, just to kind of feed off of that, like, I was incredibly insecure. Like, I needed male validation, and I put myself in situations where I was taken advantage of by men. I put myself in situations where I treated people poorly, and I just didn't have any self-confidence. I felt like I was letting my daughter down. Like, at 16 years old, finding out that you're pregnant, like, you're not in any shape to have a baby. You're still a kid. You're still growing up. And I just feel like I brought this like beautiful little human into this world, and she's my world and she's his too now. But I just had lived with a lot of regret, and like Rob and Keegan, you guys kind of touched on this, where it's like time wasted, and like I just felt like I was letting her down and I was letting myself down, and it all came from like a lack of self-love. And that's why like that self-love is so important, because the love that my daughter deserved, I wasn't able to give her because I didn't love myself. And meeting you, like, I was doing okay, but I still didn't have that confidence. I didn't have that self-love. I still constantly relied on male validation and people pleasing, and like wouldn't speak my mind, because if someone didn't like me, well, that hurt even more because I don't like myself.
Yeah. And so we decided that we were going to come together.
Yes.
And make one big circle. And we completed each other. It's like, you were my best friend. You were my other half. You were like, I needed you, and you needed me.
Yeah.
Which is healthy, right?
Smart crowd.
Smart crowd. I wasn't paying attention today. Healthy, coming together. We need each other. We rely on each other. But the problem with needing your partner to feel complete is there's a lot of shit that I would put on her that was actually my shit. And so I'd be feeling some sort of way because of my own trauma, my own insecurities, my own fear of abandonment that I hadn't dealt with. And I would project that onto her.
And vice versa. Like, I had such an anxious attachment style. I felt like I'd been treated poorly in relationships. I'd also been the person that treated people poorly. And so I had such this like anxious attachment to him that he couldn't even really leave without me going, I'll just use the word crazy, even though I don't like it. Yeah.
So it's not healthy, like relying on each other, because when you rely on your partner, you're basically saying, I need you to complete me, which is also saying I'm incomplete on my own. One of the things that Keegan talked about earlier was self-love. And when he said that, I was like, yes, because that is such a big part of what has made our relationship successful. Because when we first came together, we loved each other, which is why we came together, but we didn't love ourselves. And so when we be feeling this lack of love from self, we would take that into the relationship and project that onto the other person, when in reality, it's like I felt unfulfilled because of all of the trauma that I hadn't fully processed yet.
And exactly the same with me. Like I needed to become someone that I liked first. I think I would almost be, I'm mad at Haley's dad for not being here. I'm mad at like my ex for treating me this way. But at the end of the day, like I was really mad at myself, because every single day, like I'm in this situation and I'm not doing anything to fix it. So I wasn't mad. Like my anger stemmed from like, okay, Kirsten, like you're a smart enough human being to know like you can get yourself out of this. So all of my anger actually stemmed from like, you could be doing better. Like you could use your past to either fuel your fire, or you can use it to hold you back. And for the last however long, use it to hold me back.
I had a lot of unresolved abandonment issues. You know, Keegan said that he had the blessing of watching A Beautiful Marriage growing up. I didn't. So my mom had me when she was 17 years old. I never met my dad until I was 26. And I was also the only black member of my family. So growing up, I was just like confused. And at first, like you don't really notice skin color when you're a kid until you start going to school and people are like, why are your sisters white? And I'm like, my parents' sisters white. So then I would go home and I would ask my mom. And I'm like, why am I black and my sisters are white? And she would always give me some bullshit excuse. And then finally one day she said, don't ask me these questions. Your dad died in a car crash in Africa. I remember being like 7, and even at that moment, I'm like, I felt weird about it. And so what I did is I rebelled. And then everything my parents said to me, I would literally do the complete opposite. Because I was like, you know, you're not giving me what I need, so I'm not going to give you what you need. So at 8 years old, me and my mom and my stepdad had gotten into this massive fight. And my mom was finally like, I had enough. So she like grabs me by the ear. She picks up the phone in front of me. She calls my grandma and she's like, if you don't come pick this kid up, I'm going to send him to foster care. So I'm in the kitchen with 8 years old. And my mom went upstairs, packed all my shit into garbage bags, and 2 garbage bags by the front door. And I remember my grandma just came to the front door. She came to pick me up. So my grandma's f***ing awesome. I love my grandma. And she grabbed the 2 garbage bags. She was crying. I was crying. We went into the car and we drove off. And I remember looking at my mom's house as I drove away, just feeling like so angry. And like that was my shit. And honestly, like I feel like that sabotaged every single relationship that I'd gotten into up until I met Kirsten. It's like I would have this thing where whenever I would get too close, whenever a woman would get too close to my heart, because I hadn't fully healed from the shit with my mom, like the first ever woman that I'd ever seen in my life, I have a negative relationship with that feminine energy. Because of that, anytime feminine energy got too close to me, I would sabotage, like ruthlessly. And I did that in our relationship. And me and Kirsten were doing really well. At one point, we were doing great. And this was in the time like I felt super lonely because I just moved from Calgary to Kelowna.
My daughter, I couldn't leave Kelowna, so he left everything in Calgary to come be with me.
So I was trying to reconnect with some of my friends in Calgary, but I also hadn't resolved my with my mom. And so when I went to Calgary, it was really good. And I did what I always do, sabotage. I went out, I got up, I made out with a girl, and I didn't tell Kirsten. And so I came home.
Female spidey senses risen in
Home, and she had fucking spidey sense.
and knew it.
And I was up. I think that everything that we do as human beings, all of our trauma served us at one point. And so for me, like I dealt with like a lot of abuse from stepfathers when I grew up. And so I learned from a young age that I need to lie, because if I tell the truth, I'm going to get my ass kicked. So I would just lie and hide the truth. And so in our relationship, she was like, something happened in Calgary. I was like, no, it didn't. And so she dug. She finally went through my phone and she found the truth. And at this point, I was like way too emotionally unregulated to process what happened. And so I just ran. I just ran away. And that's where my trauma stemmed from. It was this like fear of abandonment that was unresolved. And up until Kirsten, I had never felt the need to work on it because I just figured I'm just going to move on to the next person. My relationship ended. I'm like, oh, that sucked. Next, right? And I try to get a little bit better for the next one. And then when I met you, like that's when I was like, I want to actually work on this.
And for me, like, it wasn't all him either. Like, leading up to that, Maddie, you kind of talked on this a bit where we almost like shut down. So when you were in Calgary, like, I was purposely ignoring him because I had felt like he was leaving me. I never had a really love my dad to death now, but I never had a really strong relationship with my dad growing up. And anytime there was like an issue in the house, like, I don't remember sitting down and ever talking to my dad about any like problems. Me and my mom would talk them through, but me and my dad didn't. So I almost had this really, I want to say toxic, but I don't love the word toxic, but I'll use it anyways, relationship when it came to males. And I was really afraid to communicate. And so instead of saying what I actually felt, I would say what I thought he would want to hear because I was also afraid that he was going to leave me. And so if you say something just with the intention to please someone else, you are abandoning yourself. And that's going to show up in how you interact. And so the version of me that you were getting was the shut off, cold. He's like, what's wrong? And then what I would is, nothing's wrong. I'm fine. Because I'm too scared to tell you how I'm actually feeling because I'm afraid that you're going to leave me. I'm scared. I'm scared to be alone.
And I was the same when I would feel her like cold and distant. And then I had fear of abandonment. So as soon as I felt her cold and distant, I'm peacing out. I'm like, no, thank you. I'm like, I'm going to leave you before you can leave me. I would just leave the house for days. And so we were two incomplete people and we came together and we loved each other. And we're like, let's work on this. But we just brought all of our unhealed parts into the relationship. And so inside of this circle was all of my and all of her and we just weren't dealing with it. And what this led to, you guys, is like, this was no boundaries. It's like, when we got into fights, dude, it was like battlefield. It was like, stay out of the house, like, there's grenades going off. Like, it was bad.
I think like just even taking a moment to be like where we were to where we are now, being able to speak on this stage with some of like the most amazing people I've ever met, having this opportunity and coming from where we were to where we are now, just, I think like if you have two people that are willing to put in the work and willing to grow, that like really is all you need to have a beautiful marriage. I'm shocked that we made it. Like, thank you. I always saw the man that Brian could be, and I think that's really important. But when you see something in somebody, that doesn't mean that they're going to become that something that you see. And so you actively were becoming the man that I knew that you could be, which kept me in a place where I was like, I know that if I leave, he's going to become the most successful human on the planet because he has it. I knew it. He would. It's Brian Mark. So there was always something that just like kept me.
When you marry somebody, you're obviously like, I'm going to spend the rest of my life with this person, obviously. But then when you get into the thick of it and you're in the middle of a fight and you're like, oh, you know, like, you know, that feeling. But then when I cheated on you, Calgary, kissed a girl, and ran away. I didn't even deal with it. She confronted me, and I fucking pieced. I'm like, nope, I'm not.
It was the worst 3 days of my life.
So like,
not of my life.
I pieced. And when she didn't leave me, which was my biggest fear, was the fear of abandonment. I literally did everything I could possibly do to sabotage to get myself back to the reality that I believed I should be in because that was my imprint for life. And when she didn't leave me, I was like, I need to fix this.
And we had a conversation where we were like, we don't want the relationship that we have right now. Like, I don't want this. You don't want this. And so we have a choice. Like, we can be better together because we would just find ourselves in the same position with the next person if we weren't willing to actually face what we were going through. So like, I took ownership. He took ownership, but we decided that together we're going to work on this and we're going to build a relationship that we were proud of and a relationship that we were excited to come home to at the end of the day.
And so like, we have a lot of funny stories that we could tell, but we're going to tell a couple of funny stories.
Oh, this one's so good, you guys. Okay. After my last relationship, I was like, I had a moment where like, I just looked at myself and I was like, my daughter like deserves better. I deserve better. Like, we deserve better. So I was like, I am never dating a person that like has the party lifestyle ever again, because that was my partner previously, and it just got incredibly messy. So Brian and I we were in love, okay? Like, we were in a really great place in our relationship, and he says that I told him that he should go hang out with.
She did
do it. I did it. Yes, you did. Maybe. I don't know. I don't think I did. We'll agree to disagree because it's not a big deal. He said that I said, go enjoy yourself and go spend more time with your friends and this and this and this. Okay, so I said that. So he's like, guess what, babe? I'm going to Mexico with Brendan for a week. And Brendan is his single friend.
That looks
good looking. And the things they have done together. And so obviously what happens, my insecurities skyrocket. I'm like, he's gonna go party. He's gonna cheat on me.
I just want to highlight at this one in our relationship, we were fucking
We're good. We were good.
bowling.
Yeah.
We were like happy as
So I'm like, independent woman, me, Haley, and my dog. My dog's name is Mr. Fluffy Pants. I'm like, we're gonna be fine by ourselves. So his passport was at my house, and I'm like, I'm shipping off his passport to Calgary. He's not coming to my house, and he can go have fun in Mexico. So I ship off his passport and
broke up with me.
broke up with him. I did, yeah. And I was like, I'm not gonna put myself through this again. I'm just not gonna do it. And this guy was so heartbroken. He was like crying on the phone, and he's like, Kirsten, he's like, I sent you a letter. And
I had sent this before she broke up with me.
I sent you a letter. He's like, please. He's like, when you get this letter, he's like, do not read it. So I'm like, I'm going to read it. Like, what? Don't tell me not to read it. So I go to the mail, and sure enough, there's this cute little letter, and it's like, to Kirsten. I don't think it said Mark at the time, so it's Martel. And it sits on my counter for like 2 days. And then I'm like, man, I gotta read this freaking letter. So I open up the letter, and it says, Kirsten, I see like a life with you. I see kids with you. I see marriage with you. I've never felt this way about somebody before, and I love you so much. And in that moment, I was like, holy shit, I just f***ed up really bad. I'm like, I think I just let someone, because of my ego, right? Like I was scared. So balls come up, independent woman, don't need no man. Me and my daughter are good. And I call him, and he was crying. He's like, I've had to meditate like 3 times a day. And I was like, come back. Like, let's work on this. But it was really hard for me to invite somebody in when I felt like all I'd ever gotten from men in my life the last 5 years had been hurt. And I just thought that this was going to be another one on that list, and I wasn't willing to put myself through that again.
I want to highlight something because it's like in all of the stories, it's like I think the common theme between us is like we've just always chosen each other.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what we're going through, it's like I choose you. With all the things that like you come with and all the chaos you come with and all the mood swings, not anymore, thank God.
Better. Working on it.
You come with, I'm like, I choose you. And so I kind of told a little bit about my story, but when I went to Calgary, cheated on Kirsten. When I left and I came back, she was like, she hadn't left me yet, but I felt like she was going to. And she was like, the only way I'm not gonna leave you is if we start going into couples therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Up to this point, we'd already been like, we fought a little bit at some points, and she'd suggested couples therapy, and I'm like, nah, we don't need that. I don't need to talk about my feelings. But that was one of the things that came out of that is I think that every adversity that you're going through in your relationship is an opportunity for you to become the best version of yourself for your partner. And so all of these insecurities that were getting exposed for us just led to us being able to find what we needed to work on.
And just like being willing to work on it together, right? Like I was like, we have to go to therapy. Like you and I doing this together, like it's not working right now. And I love you and you love me. But like Keaton said, like sometimes like there has to be trust, and our trust was broken.
Yeah. And so we got to a point in our relationship where it was like, I've got enough of my own to deal with. I don't want to deal with your as well. So it's like either we're going to part ways or we're going to work on our. We were both like, we can't continue like this anymore. Like this is toxic. This is not healthy. This is like, I don't like waking up every day. I don't like going to bed every day. So we got to a point where it's like, are we going to do the work or are we going to part ways and go on to other partners? But we realized if we just broke up, we'd find another partner and repeat the same pattern. Because your partner is simply a reflection of all the things that you're not working on. And so like for us, we're like, let's work on us first. And if we can become better for ourselves, and at the end of the day, then the relationship doesn't work, we can look back on this and say like, we tried.
I think it's so cool that all of you guys are here right now because you have somebody that's like, hey, let's be better. And I truly think that that is all you need. And I'd never been with someone that was willing to sit with me through my own insecurities. And I don't think you'd ever met anyone that like loved you through your insecurities. And then on top of that, just this deep desire, like knowing that we were both made for more and we weren't playing at the level that we could play at, like that gave us the opportunity to be able to recreate a relationship that like helped us create the empire that we've created.
100%. So for me, I had a lot of shit I needed to deal with. And so I had unresolved abandonment issues. So I literally went to therapy every week for 12 months. And when I went, I think a lot of people are like, therapy, stupid, whatever. When I went to my therapist, I was like, I want to go to my deep. So like, ask me the hard questions and I'm going to be open. Like, ask me anything. Because I actually wanted to solve the problem. So I went to therapy every single week for 12 months. I started doing hypnosis to work on forgiveness because I feel like there was a lot of my past that I had blocked off from my memory, like dealing with abuse from a young age and like all that I went through as a kid. I feel like I blocked a lot of that stuff off. And so I did a lot of self-hypnosis and hypnosis with a therapist to actually work on forgiveness. One of the hardest things I ever did was forgive my mom. Because like Keaton said, like your subconscious is just your inner child. And my inner child was so angry at my mom and I was taking that anger out on her. And so I had to go to my mom, who like me and my mom to this day still don't have a great relationship. I try to rekindle it and there's just some relationships that you just can't.
He forgives his mom. I do not.
Well, it's because I forgave her and then I invited her to my wedding and then she bailed on it. So after that, but at this point I'm like, I'm chill. Like, I forgive you. I understand. Like, you were raised in a certain way. It's all good. But I had to forgive her so that I could be with you. I also had to work on my communication skills because oftentimes when Kirsten would tell me things, I would try to fix her. Or I'd tell her that she was stupid. Or that's stupid.
You wouldn't tell me that I'm stupid.
No,
I'd say that's crazy.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Why are you saying that? That's stupid. So I had to learn how to shut up and just like, What else?
And listen.
What else?
And listen.
What else do you have to say? I also had to just start developing healthy friendships and making time for my friends because like it was like I needed her because I was so turbo focused on my business that I didn't have a lot of like meaningful relationships in my life. And so when we weren't good, I would like be upset at her, but it was because I wasn't developing friendships because I was so obsessed with my business. And finally, I just like, for me, like drugs were a thing that I struggled with when I was younger. So I just stopped drinking more than 1 to 2 drinks. So I never feel the urge. So like this was all work that I did on me. Had nothing to do with her.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I think the most important thing is it's really easy kind of to play almost like victim, like this has happened to me, poor me. But I think at the end of the day, there's always a part that we played. And I think I really ignored a lot of the emotions that I had coming up. I felt like they were weakness. And so for me, I had to work on my anxious attachment. If he went away, I had to learn to trust him because a relationship where I needed him within arms reach of me at all times just wasn't healthy. And I think a lot of the time we ignore emotions that come up. But when we ignore something, it creates what I like to call an emotional backup. It doesn't actually go away. And so I had to really learn how to like sit in silence and like be with the uncomfortable feelings. From 14, I wasn't alone. I was with my daughter's dad. And so it really scared me. Like it really scared me to be by myself and be with my own thoughts because the only thoughts that I had for years and years and years were negative and self-limiting. And so I had to learn to sit with that. I had to learn how to rewire that. I started going to yoga. Oh my God, I love yoga. And I actually found myself being able to sit through an entire class without having anything really come up. I forgave myself for the things that I had done in the past to hurt people. And I promised myself and my daughter like that I was going to be better from this day forward because I can't go back. And like that's one of like I don't want to say that I regret anything. But I just think like when you bring a human into this world, all they have is you. And like, although my daughter is like this amazing human now, I just had a lot of anger and resentment towards myself and how I handled certain situations that I needed to fully forgive and let go so I could really just step into my power. Fitness is the basis of, I think, everything. Like, if I was looking in the mirror and I didn't like what I saw, like, I needed to become someone that I like first. So I would go to the gym and be intentional with every single rep that I did. I wanted to build not just a body that I liked, but I wanted to, like, build a character that I was proud of. So I became disciplined. I would go to the gym if he would sleep in. Whereas before it was like, Brian's at the gym, I'm at the gym. I became like my own entity. I became this powerful person by myself, which then allowed us to become powerful together.
And like, this is the work.
Yeah.
You know, when Keaton earlier talked about doing the work, like, this is the work. Like, it took me a year of going to therapy once a week to like actually forgive myself, forgive my mom, and like move on from all the trauma. Like, that's the quote unquote work. It's approaching all of the things that you know are inside of you that have been holding you back from having the best relationship with your partner. That is the work. And like, you know, there's a bunch of people up here that were talking about how the work looks different for everybody. And I agree. But I think it's just the commitment to like uncover whatever it is that's holding you back so you can become the person that you were supposed to become. One of my favorite quotes is, it's just this idea of, how do you get rid of darkness? Turn on the light, which is self-awareness, right? Self-awareness is turning on the light. And so whatever darkness is inside of you, the way to overcome that is just to shine some light on it. And shining some light on it can come in a bunch of different modalities. There's a therapist here that's awesome. That's Keaton's mom. I'm sure she's amazing, right? But like, just shine some light on whatever it is that you're hiding in the dark so that it has no power over you. And that's the work.
Yeah, and you just have to understand that, like, you guys, like, when you try to push these feelings away, like, they don't go away. What would happen if you ate a ton of food, but your body didn't digest it? You would literally be so backed up. You have to like feel, you have to process, you have to be honest with yourself. I was saying to somebody yesterday, like, if you could see what goes on in everybody's heads on a daily basis, like, we have some weird thoughts. So like, weird things come into our head. And for me, it's like, I was so like ashamed of what I had done and where I had been. And the more that I tried to brush it under the rug, it's not a big deal, just live your life, put your head down at work, the more it would come up in other areas. And so whatever it is that you're feeling, it's there for a reason, and it needs to be processed, and it needs to be seen, and it needs to be heard, and it needs to be loved, because it's not just gonna go away. If you lay your head down when you go to bed at night and there's this constant thought that keeps coming up and eating you alive, like, it needs to be addressed. And I get that it's scary. And I get that it's hard, but it's not going to go away unless you face it.
So we made the commitment that we were going to be whole as individuals.
Yes.
Which means, like, I f***ing love myself. I think I'm handsome as shit. He was funny, charismatic, good looking, all of the above. I do. And I love being independent of her love for me. And it's the same for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm a badass bee. Like, the fact that I'm sitting up here saying that, like, now, like, it blows my mind. 10 years ago, I would have been like, no, just please like me. And now I'm like, no, like, I'm a cool person. I've come a long way. So yeah, beautiful, smart, charismatic, charming.
Go off, queen. Go off, queen. You go off. But because we became whole as individuals, we created a third entity, which was us. I think, like, that's always been my ideal relationship. Is like, I'm gonna commit, that was in my vows. I'm gonna commit to working on myself for the rest of my life. You're gonna commit to working on yourself for the rest of your life. And then together, we're gonna commit to working on the relationship for the rest of our lives. Like, that's where it actually gets fun. Like, to think about where we were 4 years ago, it's hilarious. It actually is. We are like happy as 95% of the time. We're best friends. And this came from a place where, like, we were like yelling and screaming. Like, I was packing my leaving, staying in hotel rooms. Like, it was bad. It was bad. But it's like, because I committed to working on me, she committed to working on her, and then we committed to working on us.
Because I think, like, at the end of the day, like, every single one of you guys is so worth it. Like, you really are. And like, I didn't see that for so long because we so quickly gravitate to our past mistakes versus our past accomplishments. So it's like realizing that and like, you saying that, like, you're worth it and that you're enough, that is what is going to create love within your relationship, love within your partnerships, your friendships, the people you work with. It all stems from like understanding that like you as a human being right now are worth it. And so if you go after and you chase that best version of yourself daily, like you're going to be able to create a love that is exciting and it is fun. I think we need to get to 99%.
I agree.
And then just that 1% where you're really irritated.
I agree. I love that. And so like, this is some of the stuff that we do.
Yeah.
This is what works for us. We are really happy and I'm really proud of us.
I'm really proud of us.
We do good.
We did good.
I'm really proud of us.
Let's do. And so what we do to keep ourselves good is we did couples therapy.
We don't anymore, but we did.
We did. So we did couples therapy after I was a fit in Calgary. And then she was like, if we don't do therapy,
I just needed someone on my side, man. I was like, and she did that. Janine. Thank you, Janine. She'd be like, Brian, can't you see how that would hurt Kirsten's feelings? And I'm like, thank you, Janine. Yes.
But then we did it every week. I was like, was it every week or every 2 weeks?
It was every week, and I loved it.
We did it for 12 months, and then after 12 months, we'd show up to therapy, and she'd be like, what do you guys want to talk about? I'm like,
we're good.
Fucking awesome. Yeah. Everything's great. Anyways, Janine is great. I love Janine. But we did couples therapy until we no longer had issues because couples therapy allowed us to be able to have some hard conversations.
Yes.
Right? It allowed us to be able to have some hard conversations without the guilt and the shame and the blame, etc. And now it's like, if we want to have a hard conversation with one another, like we just do it. Literally 2 weeks ago, she pulled me aside.
Oh, this is
so okay. No, it's okay. I can tell. It's good. It's all good. So I've been like, I just opened up a 25,000 square foot gym in Kelowna, and it was a fucking process. And I'm running an online business that has 1,500 clients. It was a lot. So I'm dealing with two things. So I literally just said, my health. I don't care what I look like. I'm gonna be scraggly as until I get this gym open. And then 2 weeks ago, she pulls me aside and she's like, I gotta have a hard conversation.
It made me, I was dry gagging. Like I said, oh, I'm gonna throw up. It was so bad.
I think you need to shave your beard a little bit.
And start taking your health.
A little bit.
No, I could see it in the way that he was acting too on a day-to-day basis. And I just love him so much. And I felt because I was like, I love you. And I think you're the most handsome guy in the entire world. But
she told me that and I just shut up and I was like, okay.
I was like, I know the level that Brian Mark plays at. And I was like, you ain't there right now.
I'm kind of pissed at you.
You did.
Okay, I understand. And the next day I started working on my literally the next fucking day.
He did. Yeah.
And so like,
and he said thank you.
Yes, I did say thank you.
Yeah.
And like, that is the type of relationship I want.
And he's done the same to me too, by the way. Not that it matters.
Not that it matters.
Not that it matters. Just to throw that in there.
So hard, honest conversations. We also we worked on releasing judgment because a lot of the things that Kirsten would bring up to me, I'd be like, that's stupid. Why are you talking about?
Why do you care about that?
Blah, blah, blah. Why does that matter? And I would just cast judgment on everything she was saying. But men and women are different. Mm-hmm. I just want to focus on my business, focus on my make money, transform lives. I just want to build.
And I want to talk about my emotions and the way things they'd all see.
I was like, did you hear about that one thing that happened with that one person over there? I'm like, I don't give a all right? I don't give a at all. I don't care.
He's so good though now. He's like, yeah, or no,
I understand. Tell me more. We also do date night once a week. So this is like a ritual.
Yeah.
We do not miss on this.
Do not miss.
We do not miss on this.
Even if we're away.
Even if we're away, we date night once a week where we're just spending time together. And by the way, date night doesn't count. Sitting on the couch watching Netflix together, in my opinion, doesn't count as date night. Go out and do something with your partner. Go out for a walk. Go out to a restaurant. Go out to watch a movie together. Do something together. Get out of your house and experience. Because I felt like one of the things that we were struggling with is we were just roommates. We were just homies. We live together in the same house. We're raising our 16-year-old daughter and we're just working all day, every day. And then we're just homies, living with my roommate. And they just we felt no connection. So we started doing date night once a week and we would just have really honest, awesome conversations.
We just brought ourselves back. When we first met, we were, I don't know if it was perfect, but we were just loved being around each other and we just had fun.
Honeymoon phase. #besties.
Yeah. #BFF. We were so good. And then shit just went whoop and then back. Whoop. And then we also set goals together. And we have not missed a Sunday. Even on our wedding weekend, we set goals together. So we do health, wealth, relationships, and self. So we're setting goals in all areas. And our relationship goal, 99% of the time, is going to incorporate him and I or Haley, more just family time.
I also think it's super cool that Dana talked about dreaming together because when we first got together, dude, I was not doing, well, I was doing okay, but I wasn't doing.
What I said when I say I saw the man that he could be is I just saw this spark in Brian Mark that I had not seen in another man in my entire life. Now I see it in like all these powerful people, but I was just around guys that were breaking promises to me. And so he wasn't tapped into his potential, but I was like, man, you don't know how big you could be
I was just crazy.
in every area.
Like making $30,000 a month. I'm like, I'm going to make 100 this month. And she's like, you're insane. But then she also supported me.
And he showed me, like, I'd never had a man in my entire life actually say something and do it. It was always constantly these like broken promises. I'm going to move there and I'm going to take care of you. And it just never happened. And so once Brian actually started showing me that he could do it, there's nothing this man can't do. Like, there is nothing. And he'll be like, I'm really nervous about this. I'm like, oh my God, it's you dealing with it. You're fine. I don't even get stressed, like, at all. The gym, I was like, you're good. You got this. You're Brian Mark.
Thanks,
fine. You're welcome.
That's babe. So we set goals together every single Sunday. We support each other. And I think that's something that's really cool about working on us is when we used to set goals as broken people that were one, we would get almost competitive with one another and jealous of one another. And when another person was winning, we would be like, almost like not talking, but just like acting weird. But then we got to a place where like, I want you to win so bad.
Same.
And same for her. Like I emceed at Limitless twice and I do Keegan. I fucking love you. It's so much fun. Invite me back. And every single time she's like front row, just like,
My husband.
yeah, she's crazy. I love it. But we just support each other and we have each other's backs. Something simple that we do as well is just gratitude journals every night. So every single night we have these like gratitude journals. You can buy them on Amazon.
We bring them on vacation. They're with us right now.
Yes, they are. And we just sit down and we just journal. And we're like, what was our mood on a scale of 1 to 10? What was the best part of our day? What's something we're really thankful for? You know, what's something how are we going to choose kindness?
What are we looking forward to tomorrow?
What are we looking forward to tomorrow? And we write that ourselves and then we share that with each other. So we have those practices that we do on a regular basis. This led to harmony, safety, love, laughter, joy, presence.
And I think like something that's really important is like trust. Like obviously he betrayed my trust and trust can take like forever to earn and then it can be broken in a second. But like I trust this man with my entire heart. So I think just shedding hope on if you feel like there is that lack of trust, that there's ways that you're able to work on that. Because I don't have any, I'm like, go to the Playboy Mansion. I'll see you later. Bye.
Hashtag facts. So I want to do an exercise and I'm going to separate you from your partner for a minute. And Maddie actually did an exercise earlier and I wanted to build upon it because I think it's powerful and I think it's going to shed some self-awareness.
All right.
So you guys remember the list of the insecurities or the fears or the things that you believe are holding you back from being the best version of yourself, correct? You guys remember that? Everybody have their list? Yeah. Yes? Okay, all right. So what we're going to do is Maddie already talked about the things that are holding you back. Now I want you to spend 5 minutes thinking about what you're going to do about it. Because awareness by itself, like if you just know, like I get cold when, I'm pissed off, I just shut my partner out. Okay, that is good to know, but what are you committing to do? So I want to spend 5 minutes and I want you to write out your commitment for what you are going to do to fix this. What you are going to do to work on this. For me and Kirsten, it's therapy individually. Right? I was like, I'm going to therapy every single week for the next 12 months, and I'm just going to do it until I'm good.
Going to the gym at 5 a.m., even if you weren't going to be there. Taking my own car, going to yoga, staying on my health and wellness, even if you weren't going to be.
Forgiving my mom because Kirsten didn't deserve to get that version of me because I had my own. So what are you going to commit to do? So we're going to take 5 minutes. DJ, you want to play some music or something?